Hello. It is 10 to noon, and I'm just waking up. I have for you another reading of Somebody's Daughter by David Bell, and I have my coffee. So make sure you grab your coffee, and we can leave off where we were, which is chapter. It's pretty far down the list, that's for sure. Chapter 46. So I will give you guys a moment and we will get to it. We have some absolutely beautifully gorgeous natural light, so I shut the lamp off. But you guys got your books? Let's get into it. Chapter 46, 2:22 a.m. Erica drove Michael's car down her street, the speed increasing gradually. The neighborhood looked to be middle class, a combination of ranch-style and two-story houses. The construction mostly brick. In the rushing dark, Michael couldn't see much else, but it appeared to date to the 1950s or 1960s, a time when they would have been filled with the first wave of families educated by the GI Bill, people looking for a place with a lawn and a little room to spread out. Erica slowed some in front of a brick ranch with a small porch. Sorry. Oh, excuse me, sorry. The headlights caught the image of a tree in front, which looked to be dying as most of its leaves were gone in midsummer, but the rest of the yard looked orderly, if unspectacular. Michael expected to see more activity around the house, reporters and gawkers, but the street was empty, the house dark and quiet. The reporters must have gone home for the evening. The police, no doubt, were pursuing other things. Erica zoomed up the driveway and pulled around back. No cops? Michael said. They're supposed to be here, she said, distracted. At least one car. Maybe they got called away to something, Michael said. Maybe something happened with the case. I hope so, she said. I'd rather they were out doing something than sitting here or asking me the same questions over and over again. I'm glad I don't have to deal with them. When Erica parked, the headlights caught a small patio with two matching lawn chairs and a round table. The grass looked long and in need of mowing. His eyes then fell on the swing set in the back corner of the yard, a small one with a slide at the end. He started to say something, but Erica was out of the car before he could speak, leaving the driver's side door open. Hey! He unbuckled and opened his door. His head still throbbed, but more dully, and he wondered if they even needed to stop for any kind of first aid. He followed in Erica's wake. She went across the patio, her keys jingling in the quiet night, and soon pushed open the back door. By the time Michael reached the house, he could track Erica's progress inside by the lights flipping on in each successive room. It felt weird to be stepping into this house, Erica's house, but if he was going to draw the line at doing things that felt weird, he would have to erase the entire evening. He entered a small family room. A flat-screen TV was mounted to one wall, its screen black and reflective. The furniture looked comfortable and bulky. The floor clear and uncluttered. The overhead light glowed, and Michael squinted. A small-browed dog, a butt who looked to be a cross between a collie and a beagle, came dashing out, tail wagging, tongue lolling. It came up to Michael and sniffed his shoes. He bent down, offering his hand to the dog, who first sniffed and then started licking its nose and tongue cool against his skin. He tried to rub the dog's ears, but it dashed away as soon as he reached out. He heard Erica rushing around in other parts of the house, the sounds of doors opening and closing, and soon enough she reappeared in the family room by coming through the kitchen. She looked agitated, and she ran her hands through her hair as she stopped and examined the space as though she had never been there before either. What's going on? Michael asked, straightening up. I thought her shoulders rose and fell as she took a deep breath. She ran her hands through her hair again. The dog came back and sniffed at Erica's legs. She ignored it. I thought maybe she was here. Michael understood. She darted out of the car and through the house, looking for any sign of Felicity. Maybe she'd come home or been dropped off here. Even though the house was dark, the doors locked, Erica clung to that hope. I'm sorry, Michael said. Yeah, Me too. Erica wrapped her arms around herself, rubbing up and down as though she was cold. You should sit. I'm going to go close the car. I'll do it, Michael said. I've got it. Just sit and take it easy. I'm going to take the dog with me. She probably hasn't gone to the bathroom in hours. She grabbed a leash by the door and called for the dog, who was already running when she heard the leash jingle. Come on, Trixie. I'm sorry you were here all alone so long. But Michael didn't sit while Erica and Trixie went out to the car. He wandered out of the family room, across the kitchen with its table and neat collection of cookbooks, and entered a short hallway that looked like it went to the bedrooms. Framed photographs hung on the wall, and Michael stared at them. They showed Felicity at various phases of life, infant, toddler, child. He noticed she didn't always smile, wearing a look of defiance in some of the photos, and he remembered the sadness Wayne Tolliver talked about, the melancholy air that hung over the kid. Michael leaned in, staring at the photos even longer. He tried to see a resemblance, something in the shape of her nose or eyes, the contours of her chin, something that he could compare to the photo of Robin and all of them that hung by his desk. The one from the lake, the one from right before she died. He thought he saw similarities, but was he simply seeing what he wanted to see, hoping to fulfill his deep-seated wish to have a child of his own? Erica appeared in some of the photos. In one she held Felicity, who looked to be about 3, inside an ice cream shop. In another, Felicity and Erica held hands on a beach, the tide rolling out away from their feet. He tried for just a moment to imagine himself in any of the photos, completing the scene, but he couldn't manage to do it. He'd led a parallel life, one with Angela, and he wouldn't trade any of those memories or experiences for the ones depicted on the wall, but he worried his absence played a part in the heavy look on Felicity's face. Erica came into the house again, the dog running ahead of her and down the hallway. She locked the back door and then unlocked it, her movements quick and frantic. I don't know what to do. I want it unlocked so Felicity can get in if she comes by. But I don't feel safe if it's unlocked. That's part of the reason I didn't stay here today. It didn't feel safe in my own house. It didn't feel safe in my own house. You said the cops were here. Off and on. The lead detective told me they'd keep a close eye on the house. Maybe they're up the street where we can't see them. Maybe they found something, Michael said. Should you call them? I will. Erica settled and locked the door and went into the kitchen. He heard the freezer open and she came back carrying a bag apiece. My ice maker is on the fritz, but you can put this on your head. Michael took it. Thanks. And I can get you ibuprofen. I don't think I need it. This is feeling better. They stood like that for a moment, awkwardly facing each other in Erica's house, the bag of peas in Michael's hand. Michael said, Why don't you call them and check in? It's getting later and later. I'd like to show you something. She gestured down the hallway, past the pictures Michael had just examined. I'd like you to see Felicity's room. I don't think... You asked me what kind of kid she is, what she's like. What better way to know what a kid is like than to look in her room? Hell, the cops have already been through there today. A reporter and a camera crew went in there at one point. You're her father. And even if you don't believe that, at the very least you're helping me look for her. She rubbed her arms again. I'd feel better if you looked, if you knew as much as possible about her before we went on. Michael hesitated. He didn't like the idea of going deeper into the house, especially inside a bedroom, anyone's bedroom. He couldn't imagine what he would say to Angela about doing that. But Erica was right. He did want to know who Felicity was. What if she ended up being his daughter? What if she was found and the two of them started the long process of catching up? What if it eased Erica's mind? Okay, a quick look, and then we get going. Erica walked past him and he followed. Y'all don't think that she's gonna, shove him in the room and lock him in there, do you? Why aren't the cops there still? I mean, if there's a child missing, they're gonna have at least 1 or 2 police sitting right in front. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Chapter 47, 2:27 a.m. Griffin and Twitchell came to the door of Randy Friedman's apartment. The hallway smelled like roasted garlic with a faint whiff of either incense or pot, and despite the late hour, music played loud enough to reach them through her neighbor's door. A strumming acoustic guitar in a wailing singer's voice, Griffin tried to place it. Was it Lantern Black, Lynn Fraser's pink band? Twitchell knocked, a staccato rapping against the wooden door. The two partners hadn't said anything else to each other since they talked on the sidewalk. Like an old married couple, they knew how to give each other space. Twitchell knocked again, and Griffin waited beside him, her hands resting on her hips. The door swung open, and Randy Friedman, a 40-ish woman with straight red hair, let out a sigh of relief when she saw Twitchell's badge held in the air between them. "Thank God," she said. "Can we come in?" Twitchell asked. She stepped back and let them enter the apartment, which was sparse and modern in both its furniture and decor. Randy wore form-fitting black jeans and a black t-shirt. Her nails were neatly manicured, her eyes lively, animated by both fear and intelligence. "Thought you wanted to go where Todd is," she said. "We might, but we wanted to talk to you first. I just checked in over there, and everything's under control, for now. I've been calling and texting Todd, but he won't answer." She threw her hands in the air and let them drop to her side. Then she lifted her thumb to her mouth and started chewing on a piece of loose skin. "This all feels like a nightmare. I wish you'd just find that..." Sorry about that, y'all. I had a mail and that I've been waiting for come to the door, and it was my Easter gifts from my mom. So cute. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Do we know where we left off? I've been calling and texting Todd, but he won't answer. She threw her hands in the air and let them drop to her side. Then she lifted her thumb to her mouth and started chewing on a piece of loose skin. "This all feels like a nightmare. I wish you'd just find that girl and be done with all of this. She's been gone all day." "That's what we want to do," Twitchell said. Griffin walked over to Randy and placed a hand gently on her back. The woman offered no protest but allowed herself to be guided to a chair. She sat down, her body collapsing into the cushions. Without asking, Griffin went out to the kitchen and brought back a glass of water. Her second time doing that tonight. She felt a sting of anger and frustration thinking of the trip to Tiffany Flowers' residence. Did Twitchell really think that was all for nothing? Reddick, too? She remained standing while Twitchell sat on the end of the couch closer to Randy. She decided to let him ask the questions and take the lead. She'd played nice, supportive female cop, the role everyone appeared to want her in. "You called in earlier and said you had some kind of information about your husband, something that might be relevant to the Felicity Fraser case. Can you tell us what that is?" She took a moment, as though choosing her words carefully, or perhaps she was simply reluctant to say them. "Well, you know he's a registered sex offender, right?" "We know that," Twitchell said. She sounded apologetic. It all stems from something he did when he was in his 20s. He never tried to hide it from me. He made a mistake and got involved with an underage girl, a teenager. He told me all about it when we first met." She looked at Griffin. "You understand. You meet a guy and he's honest about his life and his past, and you think you have some kind of prize, right?" "Sure." "Okay," Twitchell said. "So you knew about his record as a sex offender. What does this have to do with Felicity Fraser?" "Tal and I split up over a year ago. We weren't such a great match to begin with, but then I found out that the thing that got him in trouble in his 20s hadn't really gone away." "Meaning what?" Twitchell asked, although both cops knew what it meant. "He had pornography on his computer, child pornography, pictures of younger girls. I saw it one day when I got on his laptop for something else." She shivered. The look on her face became distant, as she no doubt recalled the images from the computer. "I couldn't believe what I saw. I guess I should have known. People don't get over those things. Hell, I took enough psychology classes in college. It was my minor. I guess I just thought, I don't know what I thought." "So you split up over a year ago because of this? Did you tell the police about the images?" "No, I didn't. I just wanted to be done with him." She looked at both of them, her eyes downcast. "I know I should have." The living room window shook as a gust of wind kicked up. Griffin thought she heard a distant rumble of thunder. It's okay. We're not really worried about that. What is the connection to Felicity Frazier? I used to work with Erica at the credit union. I was a loan officer before I changed careers. I went back to school and became a physical therapist, better pay, and I actually felt like I was helping people instead of just trying to take their money. But we all got to know one another a little when I worked there, Todd and me and Erica. We hung out a few times, and Felicity was there sometimes too. She was just a little kid, so she'd be off in her room while we were all talked or played cards or watched a movie. Again, her face grew distant. Sorry. We never had kids, Todd and I. It was fun to be around one sometimes, to kind of imagine what it would have been like. I have nieces and nephews, but they live in Alabama. Did something unusual happen between your ex-husband and Felicity during one of these times you spent together? I don't know. She looked down at her lap where her hands rested on her thighs. She tapped her feet, nervous energy leaking out. I know he talked to her alone once or twice. You know, he'd go to the bathroom and stop in her room or something. Just talk, as far as I know. Maybe a little odd for a grown man to talk to a kid in her room, but not so unusual. It might be unusual given his past. Right. And was that it? He knows Felicity and Erica and has this interest in child pornography, so you think he might have done something to Felicity? She tapped her feet, chewed at the loose skin again. No, that's not even the whole story. That's not it by far. Okay, don't know what is going on. I love books that are genred as suspense. That's the word. And they really are suspenseful because you think you have it solved and then it flips on you. And then you think you have it solved again and then it does another flip. So, and that makes you really question yourself. I love these kind of books. Chapter 48, 2:30 a.m. Angela felt a little like she'd been slapped. First, Michael had changed the passwords on his computer, and then she learned her mother-in-law had maintained some contact with Michael's ex-wife in the wake of the divorce. Gail must have been talking to Erica at the same time Michael and Angela were starting to date and then planning to get married. Was Angela the only one in the world who didn't know about it? Without thinking, she pulled the chair out from the end of the table and sat down. Her movements were stiff and robotic, as though she'd been programmed to make them. No one else in the room said anything, but she felt their eyes on her. She tried to keep her voice under control when she spoke. Okay, you were talking to Erica after the divorce. Did you know about the baby, Felicity? Because she must have had her back then, right? I didn't know about Felicity back then. I didn't. I never saw Erica. We never met in person then, right after the divorce, so I didn't know what her circumstances were. But if I'd known about a child, I certainly would have done something about it. Jake Little made a low laughing noise. And you would have wanted them to stay together for the sake of the child? Of course not. I'm not that old-fashioned. But it would have been soon enough for me to provide financial help to see that the child had everything it needed. I would have wanted Erica to show she wasn't alone, that someone heard her and understood her and could help her. Wait, when did you learn about Felicity? Tonight or sooner? I know the answer to this one, Jake said. Gail gave him a withering look, as if he were a servant who had spoken out of turn. Jake acted like he hadn't noticed, like the look had been intended for someone else. I heard from Erica again about a year ago, Gail said, ignoring him. She called me out of the blue. When I heard her voice, I have to be honest, I almost fell on the floor. I just hadn't thought about her much. I didn't know where she was or what she was doing. I just thought she was one of those people who disappeared from my life, kind of like your best friend from kindergarten or someone you knew in college but never kept up with. People just go away sometimes. They fade out of our lives. What did she want? At first, just to catch up, and she offered her condolences about James. I guess she saw an obituary in the paper or online. It was a little odd guess, but when James died, I heard from so many people I'd forgotten about. People were very kind to me during that first conversation. I could tell there was something more going on, something else she wanted to say. To be honest, I thought she might be trying to have me put her in touch with Michael. I wasn't going to do that. She looked at Angela, her eyes boring in on her daughter-in-law. I wasn't. That's too complicated. 1 second. Alright, sorry about that. Jake Little leaned forward. Tell her what Erica really wanted. Tell her why she called. That's the question she asked you. Gail tried the withering look again, but didn't seem able to summon quite the same force. She looked like she knew she had to answer the question. Finally. Something was wrong with Felicity. She needs some medical treatments for a stomach ailment. Alright, sorry. I hung something on the wall and my cat just decided to try and rip it down and it's brand new. So, pediatric pancreatitis. She'd had one bout and then it came back. It was chronic, and even though Erica had a good job in health insurance, it was getting pricey to treat. The deductible, she needed help. Why didn't she go to you? We'd split up again. We'd broken up the first time a number of years before that. I moved away and come back and we got involved again, but it didn't work. And I didn't get to see Felicity as much after the second split, only from time to time when Erica needed my help, but she didn't ask me for money. If she'd called, I would have helped, even though I don't have a lot. I work in accounting at Hoffman Recycling, but I'd share whatever I could for that girl. I would. He's right. That's what it was, that ailment. She needed a little financial help, and her own mother had recently passed away. The family didn't have much to begin with, so she turned to me. And she told you that Felicity was your granddaughter? Eventually she did. That's why I gave her some money for Felicity. And you believed her? Just like that. Think about the situation I was in, Angela. My husband had just died. I didn't have any other grandchildren. I knew the struggles you and Michael were having with having a baby. No one knows if Lynn can have a baby after the cancer, and even if she could, I'm not sure she'll ever marry or settle down that way. Erica told me that child was my granddaughter, so I wondered. It is possible. I wanted to help. Erica did say a few times that she might have to leave town with the child, pick up and move for a different job to help afford things. Maybe she took advantage of my vulnerable state, but I didn't mind, and I didn't want her to leave without my knowing the truth about Felicity. I was helping a child. There are worse things to do. And that was the end of it? You gave her some money for medical bills and that was it? Not exactly. I told Erica that I couldn't go on doing any of it, unless I knew for sure Felicity was my grandchild. And there was only one way to know for sure. A paternity test. Right. And what did you find out? Angela asked, dreading the answer but needing to ask when she had the test. Gail shook her head. She never agreed to one. That's when I stopped hearing from Erica. So, she won't agree to a paternity test. Anybody that doesn't agree to a paternity test knows for a fact that that child is not that person that wants that test done. I know that for a fact because I know a certain person that didn't want to do a paternity test because everybody knew who the father was to her son. And when she finally did get the paternity test, everybody knew that the results were going to say the other guy, not the guy she was with. So, my question is, though, with this missing child, the Flowers child, my question is that why she doesn't want to do a paternity test? Because that baby will not come back hers or Michael's. Because when you do a paternity test, for those of you that don't know, when you do a paternity test on a child, you swab the mother's mouth, the child's mouth, and the father's mouth, and send it all in to one. So, I think I got this. Let's continue. Chapter 49, 2:40 a.m. Michael wasn't sure what to expect in a young girl's bedroom. He tried to remember what his sister's rooms looked like when they were growing up. Lynn never quite seemed like the typical kid. She had expressed an interest in music and dance as Michael was aware of anything, and the only things he clearly remembered from her room were the guitars and music equipment, a pair of ballet slippers, and at some point posters of Bob Dylan, Lou Reed, and Kurt Cobain, her musical idols, staring down on her as she slept. Give me 1 second. Alrighty, sorry about that. There was a video that popped up that I needed to be a part of. Robin's room never changed. They lived in the house for 3 years after she died, and her parents refused to touch or change a thing to do with their deceased daughter. Michael remembered that the room was painted yellow with patchy bedcloths, but the door remained closed after her death. Michael and Lynn talked about going in there from time to time, but neither one of them ever summoned the courage. To do so would have felt like a violation, like sneaking into a church or a museum when it was closed. He and Lynn kept their thoughts and curiosity to themselves. But Michael saw his mother emerge from the room on a weekday afternoon about a year after Robin died. He'd stayed home from school with a stomach bug and was supposed to be sleeping, but he felt better and wanted to sneak downstairs to watch TV in the basement. He stepped out of his room at the same time his mother emerged from Robin's, her hand held to her face. He knew she'd been crying. She walked down the hall in the opposite direction of Michael and never saw him, but Michael stepped back into his room, feeling once again the full weight of his sister's death. He knew then that his parents would never get over the loss of their child, that they'd carry it with them from place to place like a family heirloom, something that simply could not be disposed of. He couldn't remember what happened to the things in Robin's room when they moved to their new house, the house his parents still lived in 3 years later. Someone packed the things and sent them away or stored them, and the new house, of course, had rooms for him and Lynn, but not Robin. When he entered Felicity's room, Erica had already flipped the overhead light on and was sitting on the edge of the twin bed, her hands limp at her sides. She seemed to be staring at the floor, at nothing. Soon enough, Trixie reappeared sniffing the floor and the desk as though she had lost something as well. Erica didn't move her head or track the dog at all. Her posture was slack, drained of energy. One wall was painted lavender with the bedspread and curtains to match. A neat row of books lined the top of a small desk, and in the corner near the closet, 2 pairs of shoes and a pair of orange flip-flops sat bunched together. In another corner sat a ukulele, evidence of Felicity's interest in music. Everything in the room clutched at Michael's heart. By all rights, Felicity should be sleeping in that bed at that very moment, and he should be home with his family miles and miles away. She keeps it clean. I make her. I try to, anyway. Her voice sounded hollow. Are you okay? It's been a long day. I'm tired, but I'm hating it. I want another cigarette, but I'm going to hold off. Plus, I'm too tired to walk outside and light up. What do the police do in here? They went through the drawers, the closet, tilted her hand off the mattress an inch or so, a feeble effort at pointing. They were neat about it. They went through all the drawers and closets and everything in the house. They said they might have to come back at some point. I don't think they found anything relevant. The dog continued to nose around. She came up to Michael and sniffed his shoes again. Do you think we ought to do something else? He asked. He still held the bag of peas and lifted it to his face, gently placing it against the skin. It felt good. It only... Oh, shoot. Okay. Hold on. Time is passing quickly. For a moment, Erica continued to stare straight ahead, almost as if she didn't hear. Michael was about to repeat himself when she spoke. Her voice still sounded hollow, even fainter. Hold on. I did something wrong for this. Alright, let's try this again. Can I ask you something? Do you think if you'd known about Felicity back then, if you'd known I was pregnant or that I'd had her, would we be together now? Erica, I don't think. Answer the question. Would we be together? Would we be living in a house somewhere with Felicity and maybe another kid? It's productive. Just answer. It's okay. If I had already met Angela, then no. If I hadn't, then I guess I don't know. I don't know what power a child would have to keep a marriage together. Okay, that was honest. I don't know why we want to reopen something from the past like this. Maybe it's not in the past for me. Maybe it's not in the past for me. I saw Felicity every day. You didn't tell me about her. You didn't have to raise her without my help. You cheated me out of that time with her. She still looked at the floor, her eyes not directed at Michael as she spoke. I wanted to punish you by not telling, but I also wanted to prove something. To you, I guess, even though you didn't know. To everyone, really. Prove what? That I could do it. See, there was always this thing with us. There was always the notion that you were the grown-up, you were the reliable one. You came from money and you had a career waiting for you out in the real world and nothing ever bothered you. And I was emotional and difficult and flighty. I couldn't pay my tuition bill on time or find my car keys or even remember to fill up the gas before a road trip. That was the dynamic between us, wasn't it? Always. Michael knew their friends saw them that way, opposites on the surface. Michael, the grounded one, Erica, something of a child. He frequently grew frustrated with those qualities of hers when they were together. He lost his patience and insisted she try harder to keep her life in order. As Michael looked back on it, on his whole life really, he'd done only two truly impulsive and crazy things in his life. The first was marrying Erica. The second was getting into the car with her earlier that night. Leaving Erica and divorcing her made complete sense. Their time together as husband and wife brought all the problems into sharper relief, and Michael came to understand he wasn't that guy. The kind who just up and married his college girlfriend because they'd been together a while and because he thought it would make his life more interesting. If Erica didn't want to be defined by who she was in college, then Michael didn't want to be defined by what one rash decision. He stepped away from it when he could. Do you think things were so intense between us back then because we were so young? Do you still feel the same intensity for things? We were so honest, so open, so raw, I guess. She stared straight ahead as if seeing the past. I remember when you told me about Robin, how emotional you were, how real, how vulnerable. Let's not get into that. He saw the images that were always there, the clear summer sky, the swing set, Robin's body bent and crumpled on the ground, the football resting in the grass 20 feet away. So you don't feel things the same way? Maybe not with that intensity, but I feel things deeper now. It's different. Erica let out a small, quiet laugh. You mean your marriage to Angela, right? That's one thing. Well, I knew you then, and she didn't. I'll always have that picture of who you were in college. She won't. It's not a contest, Erica. Time moves on. Can I tell you something else? Erica asked. She yawned, not even bothering to lift her head. Her hands were about to stifle it, or maybe she lacked the energy to. Sure. I wouldn't tell anybody else this because they wouldn't understand. They'd think I'm sick in the head or a bad person for it. Okay, he said. She didn't speak right away. Her body listed slightly to the right, toward the mattress. Michael took a step forward. Thinking she was about to collapse onto the bed, she held herself up. I used to think about moving away, about finding a better job somewhere else, starting over in a new place, but I never brought myself to do it because I always wanted you to come here, to see my life, to see the house and the yard and the dog and Felicity, to see that I've done it. I've made it work. She slowly turned her body toward him, looking at him for the first time since they'd entered Felicity's bedroom. Her face looked pale, drained. She looked like someone fighting through a disease. I want Felicity back, more than anything. But she yawned again, and as she spoke, her body leaned back, heading for the mattress. But there's the tiniest part of me that's glad this happened so that you finally came here and saw the life I've made for myself. I wanted that for a long time. She fell back against the pillow, the mattress squeaking as she did, her eyes closed. Asleep. What kind of fucked up shit is that? You're happy that your kid is gone? Mm-mm. No bueno. This isn't going to be a very long one. We'll reach back to it tonight, though. This is the last chapter I'm going to do because my throat hurts so bad. I'm starving. Chapter 50, 2:45 a.m. and the computer's dying. Griffin leaned toward Randy Friedman, listening more carefully than ever. She felt like a character in a sitcom, hearing a juicy secret in an exaggerated fashion. Twitchell waited patiently, his face a mask of calm benevolence. He acted like he didn't have a care in the world, even though Randy Friedman's ex-husband was holed up in a house across town, surrounded by police officers. No one knew what he had in mind, whether he intended to hurt himself or anyone else. What else is there to the story? Twitchell asked. Todd and I never had kids, like I said. We were older when we met. We both worked. It just didn't fit our life. Her eyes opened wide in relief. Can you imagine if we had a kid? Sheesh. She looked at Griffin as if needing her confirmation. Right, Griffin said, still leaning forward. I knew Erica was struggling, not financially really, because her job paid pretty well. It was everything else, being a single mom and trying to take care of a house, dealing with child care issues, and still attempting to have a little bit of a social life for herself. You can imagine how hard all of that would be. Of course, Twitchell said. One evening, Todd and Erica went out for a drink together. They'd invited me, but I had work to do, and I didn't really feel like going. She looked at the two officers with intensity. There was nothing going on like that between them. We were all friends. I didn't worry about that. They were able to go out for a quick drink because Felicity had a music lesson or something. Erica just wanted some adult conversation for an hour or so. I guess Todd was the best she could do. So what did they talk about? Twitchell asked. Todd told me Erica vented about all the things I just mentioned, and she expressed her concern that she wasn't going to be able to keep up with the demands of being a single mom, that she was going to end up failing Felicity. She wished she had someone to help her raise Felicity, that she thought it was so much better if two people were involved to some extent. But she didn't want to get back together with Jake, her ex-boyfriend. She didn't love him. She wanted it all, like all of us, right? Did she ever say who Felicity's father was? She told me a couple of times it was her ex-husband. What was his name? Michael. She said he didn't have anything to do with her. When I suggested she go to court over it, she refused. The subject never really came up again. Did she ever say she wanted to get back together with Michael? Griffin asked. No, she never said that to me. Did she ever suggest she wanted to harm him? No, never that. She didn't really act hung up on him. Randy snapped her fingers in the air as though something had just occurred to her. She did post a wedding picture of them on Facebook one day. I thought that was weird. Did you ask her about it? I did. She said she had a moment of weakness, that she was feeling nostalgic for being young. I guess they married right out of college. That's all she said about it. Getting back to this conversation Erica had with your ex-husband, what did she say next? Well, it's weird. Basically, she kind of offered Felicity to Todd. To us, I guess. The room grew quiet. Twitchell shifted its weight, and the couch cushion wrestled against one another. The music played in the hallway far in the background. How do you mean that? Offered her to you. It wasn't a sexual thing, not a dirty thing. Erica couldn't have known about Todd's past. No one here did. She meant it for both of us, for us to take Felicity and keep her for a while, to give Erica a break from being a single mom. Randy shook her head as though trying to wipe the thought in the memory out of her brain. Sounds a little crazy, I know. Todd thought it was weird. He thought she might be joking, but he said Erica was truly distraught, on the verge of tears as she talked about it. What did he say or do? Griffin asked. He talked to her more, and she calmed down. He even said that Felicity could stay with us some night if she ever needed a babysitter. Todd's an oddball, but he can be sensitive with other people when he needs to be. And he and Erica were friends, so he listened to her. She shook her head again, but with less force. I made the same offer to Erica the next time I saw her. See, I knew her mother had died, and I guess the mom watched Felicity a lot when Erica worked or had to do other things. I think her mom's death hit her hard on several fronts. The emotional, of course, but also the practical. You mean she didn't have the help and support she was used to? Griffin asked. Exactly. But when I talked to her about all of this, Erica said she was feeling better, that she was having a bad night when she talked to Todd. She said she managed to get some help from Felicity's grandmother to help with childcare and doctor's bills and things. Felicity had some health problems, something with her stomach, or maybe her pancreas. Not long after that, I stopped working at the credit union and I lost touch with Erica. We weren't the greatest of friends to begin with. Did you tell anyone about Erica's state of mind when it came up? Griffin asked. You mean like Child Protective Services or something? No, I didn't. It seemed odd. Not so odd that I'd report it. Like I said, she seemed to be doing better after that. But you called us today because why? Twitchell asked. I saw that Felicity disappear, and there seemed to be some suspicion falling on Erica. No one saw Felicity in the park. No one's sure where Erica is, right? She looked at both of the cops, but neither one offered an answer. Randy went on. I just thought Todd, maybe he did have something to do with it. Maybe things had gotten worse for Erica, and Todd did something about it. Maybe that's why no one saw the girl in the park, and now he's acting crazy, not coming out of the house. He seems to be up to something. Twitchell stood up. He pointed at Randy. Do you think he'll listen to you? Are you on good terms with him? Not really. We're divorced. It's worth a try. Grab whatever you need. We're going over there. Okay, I lied. Chapter 51, 2:47 a.m. Angela smacked her hand against the top of the table. She felt like an overly dramatic judge getting ready to make a grand pronouncement in a courtroom. That proves it. The kid isn't Michael's. If she was, Erica would submit to the paternity test. It wouldn't take long. I'm guessing you offered to pay for it? Gail nodded. I would have, sure. I even called a company that does them. It's just a cheek swab and you mail it in. You don't have to compare the sample to the father. It's more accurate that way, but you can compare it to another relative, a parent or a sibling of the father. Angela looked at Jay as though he were her jury. See, the kid isn't his. Why else refuse to test? Jay spread his arms wide. I'm on your side in this. I don't think the kid is your husband's, but she does. Or maybe she's trying to convince herself he's the father. Oh, excuse me, that's gross. I suspected she'd be coming here because he has money and is connected, and we all know those things make the world go round. Jake shrugged. He looked helpless for a moment. Maybe she thought they'd get closer again. Maybe she thought coming here and looking for Felicity would bring them back together. You don't really believe that, do you? Angela asked. I'm not really sure what Erica has been thinking lately. Maybe she never got over your husband entirely. She talked about him sometimes when we were together. I figured first love and all that, but maybe it was more. Siren? What the fuck is that noise then? That's bizarre. Angela felt a flush rising on her face, and she bit against the inside of her cheek to try to keep her temper in check. Wait, I heard on the news that no one actually saw Felicity in the park this morning when she was supposed to have disappeared. Are you saying Erica might... I'm not going that far, Jake said, but he didn't sound fully convinced. Angela felt sick. She slumped against the back of the chair with a thud. For a moment, she ignored the two people sitting at the table with her mother-in-law and a complete stranger. Had Erica done something to her own child as a ploy to get Michael back? Was she married to someone who was possibly in the process of being victimized by a crazy person? She looked at Gail. Is that really the last you heard from her when you asked for the paternity test? That was it. I even called her back a couple of times to see if maybe she had changed her mind, but she never answered or returned my calls. Gail leaned forward. She reached out with her hand and placed it on top of Angela's, giving it a little squeeze. I thought maybe she really had left town with her child for good. Despite the puzzlement she currently felt with respect to her mother-in-law, who had managed to keep all of this a secret from all of them, the touch felt good, reassuring. Angela's parents lived in Florida, and she saw them frequently. Gail is the closest thing she had to a mother on a day-to-day basis, But you did more than that, Jake said. Angela looked at him and then over at Gail. Her mother-in-law seemed resigned, unable to hold anything else back. Okay, I did do more than talk on the phone with her and send money. Do you think I was just going to write checks? So what did you do? Angela asked. Then she understood. You saw the kid? Gail nodded. A couple of times. I told Erica she could have the money if I met the girl. Once we met in a park up there. I don't remember the name of it. Maybe it's the one she disappeared from. I don't know. Another time we went to lunch. This was about 6 months ago, and I again insisted on the test. Things grew heated, so we parted on somewhat unpleasant terms. And Angela asked. She wasn't sure she wanted to know, but she asked anyway. What's the kid like? Gail nodded. She's a sweet girl, darling really. A little shy, I guess, but then I was a complete stranger she had no context for. And yes, she bore a resemblance to my girls when they were that age. I felt that, like a piece of glass in my heart. You wanted a kid to make up for your dead child. Erica knew all about that. Gail looked around the room, her eyes seemingly in search of something else to focus on. Emotion seemed to have a hold of her for a moment, but then she turned back and looked at Angela. I would have liked to spend more time with Felicity, and I know maybe I played into Erica's hands. Once you see the kid, it's harder to deny her something. That makes sense, doesn't it? It does. Understand where I was coming from. The possibility existed that this girl was my granddaughter and Michael's daughter. If it was true, I wanted to know, but I wasn't going to drag you and Michael into something when I didn't have all the facts. That would be like rolling a hand grenade into your marriage, especially when you were struggling to have a child of your own. Angela, did you need to hear that Michael's ex-wife was saying she was raising Michael's child? What if it wasn't true and I caused all that uproar in your lives for nothing? Should I have done that? She squeezed Angela's hand again. I believe you're right when you say Erica told us all we need to know when she didn't get back in touch with me. Felicity likely isn't Michael's child. Erica wanted my financial help for a while, and she got it. That was that. Maybe she took advantage of me because of James' death. Maybe she took advantage of my desire to finally have a grandchild. I get it. And Michael didn't know? He didn't know. Not from me, anyway. If Erica told him anything, well, he would have told you if he'd heard from her. Angela bit the inside of her cheek again. The changed passwords, the lack of access to his Facebook page. How on earth did she or anyone else know whether Michael had been in touch with Erica? And then she looked over at Jake. Wait a minute. Did Erica tell Michael any of this? Do you know if they've been in touch? The corner of Jake's mouth rose a little, and he shook his head. You think she's going to tell me? We've been on the outs for quite a while, so you don't know. I don't know. I don't think she was talking to him when we first dated, back when Felicity was little. She was pissed at him for leaving, raising Felicity on her own, and moving up in her job as a way to prove she was an adult. We broke up when Felicity was about 4, and I moved away for a while, got involved with someone else. And you never got a paternity test when Felicity was little? You said you were like a father to her. You could have had the test and known for sure. Jake was shaking his head before Angela finished speaking. He reached up, ran his hand through his thick hair. I wasn't thinking that way. I was her father then. That was it. To be honest, maybe I didn't want the bubble burst by learning differently. What did Erica tell you about it? She was vague, but she told some friends Michael was her father. I know that. You got involved with a woman with a baby. Not many men would do that. I loved her. I did. And Felicity came along, and I loved her too. I wanted a family. Always did. We don't get to choose the things that happen to us. Erica sure managed to track Michael down tonight when she needed to. She knew some things about him. It's not hard to find people. I found you. Angela understood that. She'd been able to track Erica down when she wanted to, but she also wondered how much Erica knew about their lives. Had she been watching them, following them? Was anything they done private? Who do you think Felicity's father is? Angela asked Jake. You know Erica. You must know some of the people she knows, or you at least know stuff about her life. Who do you think it is? Angela should have seen the answer coming as soon as she asked the question, before even as Jake opened his mouth, she knew what he was going to say. Jake pointed to his own chest. Hell, it's me. So you're really not looking for Erica so much as, I want to know what happened to my daughter, he said. He sounded more thoughtful, a little wistful, and even sad. I know Felicity. When Erica and I were together, I spent time with the girl, even a little after we broke up the second time. I'm the closest thing she's ever had to a dad. And I know it goes deeper than that. I am her dad. I know the truth. In here. Anna rolled all of it around in her head. The more she learned, the more questions she had. So you and Erica met and got together right after she and Michael split up when she was newly pregnant? Jake took a long time answering the question. Not exactly, he finally said. She and I, Erica, we started things while she was still married to your husband. Now, I'm not proud of that, but their marriage was on the downward slide. That's what Erica told me, and they did split up soon after. Angela felt what exactly on Michael's behalf? Anger? Betrayal? Did it even make sense for her to feel a protective anger over something that happened to her husband before she knew him? Yes, she decided. It did. Somewhere in the past, Erica betrayed Michael, and she'd shown up on their doorstep that night, furthering that betrayal in some way, either by lying to him about being Felicity's father or by lying to him about the child even being missing at all. She'd grown tired of sitting and doing nothing, so she pushed herself up from the table. What are you doing now? Gail asked. Jake looked up at her. Yeah, what's going on? Angela hesitated, then said, I have somewhere to go. Something to do. Jake stood up as well. He was about 3 inches taller than she was, but broader. His shoulders seemed to fill the space. You're going to look for your husband, right? That's the only thing that makes sense. He pointed at Gail. She's here to watch the house in case your husband shows up again. Angela felt boxed in, trapped. She didn't want this man in her house anymore. She wanted him gone, and she wanted to be on the road herself, the way she'd planned. You said you were looking for Erica. Well, she's not here, as you can see. So, where did they say they were going? I'm not sure. Where? He took another step forward. Angela looked at Gail, who watched her expectantly. The air conditioning came on with a soft whoosh, blowing cold air on the back of Angela's neck from the vent above. But the hairs there were already on end, the follicles jangling with nervous energy. They said they were going to talk to someone who might know something about the case. Erica told Michael there was a guy, a teacher at her school, who might know something. Jake was nodding, his gestures acquiring the frantic nature they had on the porch. Yes, I know who she's talking about and where he lives. How do you know that? I told you, I've stayed in touch with Erica somewhat. I see Felicity and talk to her when I can. I know who this music teacher is. She loves music. He's been teaching her for more than a year. Then you can tell me where he lives. We can go together. We will go together. I know the places Erica likes to go and might want to look. I know where her house is. You know how to track down your husband to stay in touch with him. It's the only choice. I don't think, look, Jake said, leaning a little closer, his voice growing louder. You want me to leave? I know. You don't want me in that house at all. That's fine. I'll go. But I'm not going alone. I've been getting jerked around here all day by the cops who wanted to come after me, and now you too. I think I'm the only one who really cares about this kid. That's my agenda. I'm not getting any younger, and I don't have any other kids. He looked around the room, appraising it. So you're going with me, and we'll find them, or Felicity, and then I won't ever have to come back. Angela's mouth went dry. She'd wandered far out on the ledge and worried she wouldn't be able to come back in without falling, but she knew her primary concern, her most important goal, find Michael and bring him home safe. Angela tried to work up saliva in her mouth and swallowed. She wondered how on earth her day had gone so sideways. Okay. Follow me. My car's in the driveway. Follow you? Jake's face looked incredulous. Didn't you hear what I just said? I'm tired of being jerked around. Erica's carelessness, the cops, all of this. He pointed to his own chest again. I'm driving my car with you in it. He turned and looked at Gail. Maybe you should go too. That way no one can call the police after I go. Siren, get out the window. Wrong. That's not necessary. Leave her out of it. I'll go with him. You stay here in case Michael comes back. No, Angela said. She felt protective toward her mother-in-law and didn't want to put her in a situation where she might be in danger. You stay. If Michael comes back or the police or anything, you can handle it. But it's okay, Gail. I'll be back. Angela spoke with confidence she really didn't feel. She wasn't certain what she was stepping into by agreeing to get into a car with Jake Little, but she had to do something. And if she could go and find Michael and keep Gail out of any harm, then she intended to do it. Jake's nervousness made Angela uneasy. It meant he wasn't sure of himself, which could make him either more dangerous or else more malleable. Or both. She hoped the malleable side of him won out. It's okay, Angela said. She looked over at Jake, who stared back, his face expectant. We're going to go together, and we'll find them. You just stay here. It's okay, Gail. I got it. She pointed toward the front of the house and opened the door. You ready? Jake stepped back and let Angela walk ahead of him, but before they left the dining room, he turned and looked at Gail. I'm leaving your phone here, and you're not going to call the police, he said, because I'll be taking real good care of her. Ooh, I don't like that last part. All right. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that last part. That's for sure. Ooh, that was kind of creepy. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get this. Ooh, nap time maybe. I don't know. Something. But I'm going to go ahead and hop off here, and I will see you guys in about 5-ish hours, maybe. Bye.